Welcome to Realms of the Other World, Episode 15, The Borley Rectory. Known as the most haunted house in England of its time, Borley Rectory was located in Borley in Essex, England. It was constructed in 1862 by Reverend Henry Dawson Willis Bull, near the Borley Church. The large rectory was built in Gothic style. The rectory was built on top of an earlier rectory there in 1841 that had burnt down. Reverend Bull was the rector of the parish and moved in after the rectory was built. Later, an addition was put on the house for his 14 children. It is said that there was a rectory on the site even before the first rectory which Borley was built upon. According to a legend, there was a Benedictine monastery nearby, and there was a monk there that had an affair with a nun from a nearby convent. When the affair was discovered, it was said that the nun was buried in the walls of the convent, and the monk was executed. Later, this story has been proven completely false, and it was probably influenced by a book at the time about a nun that was walled up. In 1863, it was reported that a few locals heard unexpected footsteps in the house that they could not explain. On July 28, 1900, 4 of Reverend Bull's daughters saw what they believed to be a nun at twilight. It was about 40 yards from the house. They tried to talk to her, but she disappeared into thin air as they approached. The organist from the church said the family really believed that they had seen a ghost multiple times. People claim to have seen strange things. For 40 years, there was a phantom coach seen driven by headless horsemen. Reverend Bull died in 1892, and his son, Reverend Harry, died in 1927. Then the rectory became vacant. In 1928, Reverend Guy Eric Smith and his wife moved into the house. Smith's wife was cleaning out a cupboard and discovered a paper package with the skull of a young woman inside. Soon after, there was much activity in the house. Disconnected servant bells ringing, lights in the windows, and footsteps. There were also sightings of the phantom coach. The Smiths contacted the Society for Psychical Research through the Daily Mirror newspaper. A reporter came to see their house on June 10, 1929. He wrote an article about the hauntings at Borley. Harry Price from SPR came to conduct an investigation. Strangely, new things began to occur. Stones were being thrown and other objects. Messages were tapped out from the frame of a mirror. When Price left, that activity stopped. Smith's wife suspected he was conjuring the activity himself. The Smiths left Borley in 1929. Reverend Lionel Algernon Forster, a cousin of the Bulls, and his wife Marianne moved into the rectory on October 16, 1930. They too had their fair share of paranormal activity. Lionel wrote about the activity in a letter he sent to Harry Price. There was bell ringing, stone throwing, bottle throwing, wall writing, windows shattering, and their daughter being locked in a room. Marianne said that she had been thrown from her bed. Adelaide claimed that something attacked her. Lionel tried twice to do an exorcism. One time he was hit by a stone. These happenings were published by the Daily Mirror, and many psychic researchers were interested in investigating the home. They concluded that Marianne Forster was causing the poltergeist activity herself. She herself said she thought her husband and one of the researchers may have made some of the activity, and yet she thought that some of the activity was genuine. Later, it was discovered that Marianne was having an affair with one of the lodgers, and that she used the activity to cover up the sexual encounters. The Foysters left Borley in 1935. The rectory was not occupied for a while. In May of 1937, Harry Price decided that he wanted to rent the property to conduct a year-long investigation. He recruited several students to stay in the house to observe activity. In 1938, Price had Helen Glanville conduct a planchette session in South London. She claimed to come in contact with a nun, Marie Lair. According to this session, she was a French nun who left her order to marry a man of the Waldegrave family, who owned the property that burned down previously to the building of the Borley Rectory. She said she was murdered and thrown in a well or buried in the basement. One of the wall writings that was found had said, Marianne, please help get me out. Sunux Emurs was claimed to be the other spirit that was contacted during the session. He said that he would burn the rectory down on that night, March 27, 1938, at 9 p.m. He also said that a skeleton of a murdered person would be discovered. Later the next year, on February the 27th, the new owner of the house tipped over an oil lantern and the house caught fire and was badly damaged. Later they figured out that the fire had been started on purpose. A nearby neighbor said that they saw a nun one night in an upstairs window of the rectory. However, she wanted money for the telling of her story. Price did do a dig in 1943 in the cellars of the burnt-down house, and he found 2 bones which he believed to be from a woman. The property owners would not allow the remains to be buried there because they believed they were pig bones, not human bones. Harry Price died in 1948. He was accused by the Daily Mail reporter Charles Sutton of faking paranormal activity. He said that when he was with Price at the rectory, he was hit on the head by a large pebble. He suspected Price had thrown it, and sure enough, he reached into Price's pocket and found many small stones. A book about the rectory was published in 1956, The Haunting of Borley Rectory, by members of the Society for Psychical Research. 2 men had been a part of Price's investigation. They said that Price had most definitely produced some of the activity himself. The final report about the Borley said that much of the activity was faked or due to normal occurrences, such as rats and the structure of the house. As time went on, it became apparent that probably most of the activity was created by humans, the wind, or friends visiting. The legends had been invented. Even Marianne Foister admitted that she had created phenomenon herself. Only a few people supported Harry Price, but overall it was thought that he was a fraud. In 1944, the house was torn down. Was the Borley Rectory ever haunted? What about the footsteps heard by the neighbors in the beginning? Or the nuns cited by Reverend Bull's 4 daughters? Perhaps all of the faked paranormal activity shrouded what little activity there was? Or has the story been diluted down so much that not much truth remains at all? In the year 2000, a teenager was on the Borley grounds and saw a young boy dressed in Victorian clothing. His uncle had taken him there to drive by. He was frightened by what he saw and wanted to leave. Later that night, they returned. There was a big thump on the side of the car. They stopped to make sure they had not hit something. They found nothing. His uncle continued to drive and claimed he saw headlights when the boy could see none. He stopped the car so that the other car could pass, but there was no other car. This teenage boy is now a young man and is part of a local paranormal group that visits the rectory land near the church. He claims that video recorders fail, much of the equipment goes off, stones have hit their car, they have seen orbs, shadows, and other odd things. Do you dare visit the old Borley Rectory property? Some information is below. Thank you for watching Realms of the Other World. Please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Have a good evening. Take care.